What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and we got the final college football playoff rankings before the final college football rankings will be revealed on Sunday tonight. And I'm going to give you my reaction to this new top 25 poll. I do have to pat myself on the back just a little bit here because, as you guys know, I always project what the rankings are going to look like. And this is by far the best projection I have ever put out because we got almost everything exactly right here. Top 11 perfect, and only had to move a few teams around. And I really like when I get it more accurate because that means I don't have to move graphics around as much because I've already got them done for my projection, and I didn't have to change a whole lot. So was happy with myself in these projections. They seem shocked that Florida was where they are. That's exactly where I had them. I mean, what did you think was going to happen to Florida? When you look at Georgia and how much the committee likes Georgia, they're not going to drop Georgia. And then they're not going to put Florida behind Georgia because they beat them head-to-head. So no real surprise there. And again, that was something that they seemed surprised about on the selection show. But let's get into it here, 21 through 25. Now, the bottom two teams, I will admit that I missed the mark on that. I thought it was going to be TCU and Auburn. Just because I thought they were going to go with the Power 5 teams. Didn't really see Colorado at all. I don't understand that when they're 4-1. They just got beat pretty badly, and they haven't beaten anyone. So I'm just no idea why Colorado is ranked. San Jose State deserves to be ranked. I told you I would put San Jose State and Buffalo in those final two spots. It's nice to see the committee put a group of 5 team in here that's undefeated. Buffalo has been more impressive to me. They've been dominating their games while San Jose State has had some closer games. But I guess they view the Mountain West as being better than the MAC, although there's no way you can say that because the conferences didn't play each other this year. The MAC could be much better than the Mountain West. We really have no idea. But I guess you're just kind of going by how it normally is in college football. And the Mountain West is normally a good conference, one of the better group of 5 conferences. So those two teams made it in. I didn't really know who the final two teams are going to be. I again thought it might be TCU and Auburn just because I just thought that the Power 5 bias would put those teams in there, but they go with San Jose State and Colorado. I like the San Jose State pick. I don't like the Colorado pick. That makes absolutely no sense to me. Tulsa at number 23, NC State at 22, Oklahoma State at 21. That's exactly where I had all 3 of those teams. I can't remember if any of these teams even. Well, Oklahoma State played. They look good. NC State and Tulsa, I don't remember them even playing this past weekend. Maybe they did. But yeah, those teams, no change. And not really a whole lot to talk about with those 3 teams. Let's go now to the next set of teams. 16 through 20. Louisiana and Texas were exactly where I had them projected, although I still believe Louisiana should be much higher. I still believe Louisiana should be ahead of Iowa State. They have 1 fewer loss. They beat them head-to-head. It makes no sense to me. If you follow the criteria, Louisiana should 100% be ahead of Iowa State. I mean, there's really no justification for that other than Power 5 bias and the fact that maybe because it was week 1, they thought it was a fluke. I don't know. But that again, that's where I projected those 2 teams. BYU and Miami were flipped for me. I thought they would keep Miami ahead of BYU because I thought that Power 5 bias would continue. But no, they actually put BYU at 17, Miami at 18. Miami just got embarrassed by North Carolina. But they do have a win over NC State, who is a top 25 team. I think the committee likes that. And that's why I think, again, Miami, people thought that I was projecting Miami to be too high. And I only missed them by 1. A lot of people thought they shouldn't even be ranked or they should be down in the 20s. But when you've got a win over an NC State team and your 2 losses are to good teams, it's not going to drop you too much. BYU there at 17, not going to get them high enough. They're not going to be ranked high enough for a New Year's Six bowl. In fact, I think they already took another bowl game against UCF maybe. I think I saw that somewhere. We'll have to double check that. But Iowa at 16, about where I had them. I think I maybe had them 1 spot higher. They have really looked impressive. I know they have 2 losses, but those were to good teams, or Northwestern at least was a good team, and they were close games. So Iowa, they're at number 16. I believe the other loss was to Purdue, if I remember correctly. But again, no real surprise there. The committee did what I thought they would do. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but they did what I thought they would do this week. There's 11 through 15. I thought they might put North Carolina a little bit higher. And I thought they might drop Coastal Carolina. I figured they would use a close game against Troy as an excuse to drop a group of 5 team. But no, they actually keep Coastal Carolina up there at number 12. I think that's even up a spot from last week, which means Coastal Carolina has a real shot at a New Year's Six Bowl, but I don't know if there's going to be enough for them to pass Cincinnati if both teams win their conference championship games. Of course, Tulsa could beat Cincinnati, and that would open the door for Coastal Carolina to get a New Year's Six Bowl bid. Absolutely. So that's what you're going to have to hope for if you're Coastal Carolina, and then win a tough game against Louisiana. Indiana, right where I expected them to be. USC, right where I expected them to be. I had projected them at 13. Northwestern, I projected at 14. Of course, they're going to have a big game with Ohio State. Going to be a tough one. We'll see how they fare in that game. I don't. If they win that game, I think maybe there's a conversation about putting them in the playoff. But if they're all the way down at 14 now, I think it's going to be tough. But again, there's North Carolina at 8-3, by far, according to the committee, the best 3-loss team. And again, when you look at it this year, those close losses matter. North Carolina, two of their losses that were bad losses were really, really close. Florida's bad loss was really, really close. They are really rewarding teams for losing close games this year, not necessarily losing to good teams, just losing close games, whether it's a good team or not, which is interesting. I don't think that's something that they've done in the past. They're not supposed to look at winning margin, but it's obvious that they are this year. And I think that's why, again, North Carolina is where they are. And I think it's a big reason why Florida is where they are, which is at number 7. Here's 6 through 10. Again, top 11 for me was exactly like I projected. So there was no surprise. Oklahoma at number 10 at 7-2. Right where I expected them. They didn't play. Cincinnati didn't play, and I think that's hurting them. They continue to fall. You got Florida and Georgia there at 7 and 8. Florida, again, I knew they would be ahead of Georgia. There's no way. I know they had a bad loss to LSU, but it was a close loss, and the committee is not going to penalize teams for losing close games. Georgia, on the other hand, lost by a lot, but they lost a really good team. So I think those losses are kind of even in the committee's eyes. And again, the head-to-head goes to Florida. That's why they're ahead of Georgia. Iowa State jumps up to number 6. That's what I projected. Who else would have jumped ahead of Florida? Again, Cincinnati's not going to pass Georgia and Florida. Oklahoma didn't play. There is no other team to pass Florida besides Iowa State, and that's what I expected. They did pass them, moved to number 6. As we have 6 through 10 here. Again, no surprise for me. A lot of outrage over Florida. I get it, but the only gripe I would have is Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati should be ranked ahead of these 2-loss teams. They're undefeated. They played some pretty good teams, and they've been really dominant. That's what I have an issue with, is Cincinnati being at 9. They should be at 6. I don't think necessarily that Oklahoma should be ahead of Florida. Oklahoma lost to Kansas State. The argument with Florida, to me, is not that big of a... Florida and Georgia, not really that big of a deal being at 7 and 8, because I don't know who you would put ahead of them besides a Cincinnati or Coastal Carolina, which I absolutely believe both of those teams should be ahead. I believe Cincinnati should be 6 and Coastal Carolina should be 7. They're undefeated. They've got quality wins. It's Power 5 bias. Again, I'm not going to harp on that because we've been talking about it the last couple of weeks. It is what it is, and didn't expect it to change this week, and it didn't. Top 5 stays the same. There was really no reason to move anybody. Alabama was already number 1. They were impressive. Notre Dame didn't play. Clemson didn't play. Ohio State didn't play. Texas A&M didn't play. The only thing there's really no way anything was going to change here. So the top 5 stays the same. And again, there were no real surprises for me this week for the first time. This is the first time that it's gone pretty much exactly how I projected it to go. We'll see how it turns out this weekend, see what happens in these games. Will we get any drama? Will we get any upsets? I kind of think not. Again, I still think Clemson's going to beat Notre Dame, Alabama's going to win, and Ohio State's going to win, and the top 4 is going to stay the same. Maybe the order changes a little bit, but I believe we've got our top 4 teams already. Of course, if something happens, if there is an upset, or if Notre Dame beats Clemson, that is going to shake things up in a big way. And by the way, Clemson, I know Dabo's saying that if they lose, they're still in. Absolutely not. Clemson is not going to make the college football playoff if they lose to Notre Dame. If you lose to a team twice, why would you potentially get another shot at them? That's ridiculous. If the committee does that, that's just absurd. You cannot put Clemson in if they lose to Notre Dame. I don't care if you think they're one of the 4 best teams or not. That is not fair at all to Notre Dame. If they were to potentially play Clemson again, lose that game, and beat the national champion 2 out of 3 times, and yet you're not national champion, that would be awful for college football. So just wanted to get that out there. But again, I think Clemson's going to win. It will not be an issue. And I think the top 4 is going to stay the same. Probably. We'll see. We might see a shakeup. We might see an upset. Something might happen. Northwestern may shock the world and beat Ohio State. Florida may beat Alabama. Anything can happen. It's 2020, and I am looking forward to this weekend. One of the greatest weekends of college in the history of college football, with all of the games we've got in conference championship games. It's going to be a lot of fun. But this is my reaction to the playoff rankings. I want to get your reaction. Comment down below with your thoughts. Again, no surprises for me. It went about how I thought it would go, and I think the committee is not necessarily making the right decisions, but they're at least this week consistent with their bad decisions. Let's just put it that way. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.